We are starting stage 3, correcting color problems. For those of you who have already taken graphic design, this is going to be a review. If you haven't taken it, you really need to pay attention to the 3 pages in your book, 180, 181, and 182, because you have to understand the subtractive and additive color models. Additive color models, which is what we mostly work on, and by the way, a lot of the filters will only work in RGB. That is the RGB mode. Additive primaries are your red, green, and blue. The additive secondaries are magenta, yellow, and cyan. So as you mix the colors together, you get different colors. You also, when you blend all of it together, you get white. On subtractive color theory, that's what we print with. Printing is cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. And as you blend those colors together, cyan and magenta and yellow, you start to get black. So what happens is that the primary colors absorb the light and reflect only certain lights. So cyan absorbs red and reflects blue and green light. Magenta absorbs green light, reflecting red and blue. Yellow absorbs blue and reflects red light and green light. And we only see the colors that are bounced back at us, not what is being absorbed into it. Color terms are all listed on 181, and they are described, and you can read through all of that. We also on page 182 talk about gray balance, which is the idea of neutral gray. Gray balance, combining neutral grays, can correct some image issues. When you're working in RGB, you have equal parts of red, green, and blue light, which creates a shade of gray. R0, G0, B0 is pure black. If it's 255, which is the highest rating you can get, it's pure white. And so in the center, when you start combining those, and you would do that halfway through, you're going to get gray. You have to evaluate and correct neutral grays so that you get equal percentages of those 3 primary colors. Opening up the Jade image, we're going to be working with the color balance adjustments. So you need to open your info panel, and you should have RGB and CMYK modes showing. If not, you'll need to go into your options panel and bring those up. We want to pick up the color sampler, which is going to be nested with your eyedropper tool. Looks like the eyedropper with a little extra piece added to the cursor. And we're going to click in the upper right hand corner, which seems to be about the lightest color, but notice the background is not pure white. And when we sample that, you can see in the RGB that you have 254, which is the red, the green is 243, but the blue is only 215, which is a lot lower. If you look in the CMYK model, you'll see that the yellow is at 17%, where your cyan and magenta are both very small at 1 and 3%. So we have a lot of yellow in the cyan, magenta, and yellow. And remember, blue is going to give us that yellow shade because we are not balanced in the RGB. I forgot to mention that you were supposed to use a 3x3 average. I'm sorry about that. You're supposed to do that right before. Go into Image, Adjustments, and select Color Balance. Click the Highlights radio button because we sampled the highlight area, and we're going to drag the yellow-blue slider towards the blue, because remember we have too much yellow, and we want to bring up the blue, and we're going to add 40. And you can see the color change as we are sliding this. If we were to pull it all the way over to blue, you're going to get some really oddball color. But we need to bring this over and add about 40. There we go. Adding the color's complement neutralizes that color, going to a neutral gray. But now we have maybe a slightly pinkish cast. Remember, our pink was also off a little bit, so we're going to bring the magenta green slider right, adding a little green to offset the magenta, and we're going to bring that up not as much. Let's go around 10. I did 11. Bringing in the green brings the three sample values a whole lot closer. Look down here in your RGB. We were at 253, we're still at 253. 242, 253. We were at 214, we're now at 254. So we're very close to having all of that neutraled out. Click OK to accept your adjustment, and the colors have now been corrected, and you can save that file. Remember, again, you're saving as the JPEG so that we get a smaller file size, and you can actually knock the quality on this down to 11, which will take this back to just under 1 meg. And then you can close the file. For the next file, we're again going to correct our gray balance, but this time we're going to use curves. Curves is one of the most powerful color correction tools you can use in Photoshop. And if you can grasp working with curves, you can use this tool to take out color casts. You can enhance contrast. You can modify color values in individual channels. This is such a great, powerful tool. I hope you enjoy using it as much as I do. I think it's my favorite one to work with. Read this section through on the bottom of page 185 and the top of 186. Also read through adjusting curves on screen, and we're going to open up the gold file and using our color sampler tool again, you're going to click up in a section in the upper left hand corner away from the brooch. Just get a nice section in the middle and take a look at what the colors are. Leave your mouse right there, and I have a red value of 180, a green value of 159, which is very low, and a blue value of 164. Now my blue value is in the middle, and so that's the target, and I want to adjust my other two curves to those values. I'm actually going to jot those down so that I have them, because as I move my cursor away, I'm going to lose that, although it will show up in my origin 180, 159, 164. I want to keep that for reference. Then I'm going up to Image and Adjustments and select Curves. I want to pick up first of all the red in my channel menu. That's going to display the curve for the red values. And I want to put a point in here. This is next to where the red is the strongest, on the 3/4 grid intersection. And with that selected, I want to change my input value with what I originally scanned my red value to, which I had read of 179. The book had 183. So I'm going to put my input, I'm going to change the 189 to 179, which matches my curve. And you can see how that starts to bow that curve a bit. Then in my output field, I want to type in the blue value, which was I had was 162, which is going to change the curve. Then I'm going to go to my green, which was the lowest values, and I'm going to need to bump that up to match the blue. So I'm going to select a point on the green curve and change my input there to my original input, which was 160, and my output value that I'd like it to be is 162. Click OK to make the change, and just for whatever, I want to go back in and look at what the original color was and the adjustment that we've made. Then I'm going to go to save this file as gold fixed. And I'm going to drop that down a little bit smaller again. I'll take that to a 10, which is bringing that down in size. And I can close that file. So we just corrected color using curves. Next we're going to correct contrast using curves. Make sure that you read the section on the bottom of page 189 and continue on page 190, understanding the curve display options. And we're going to open up the diamonds image. Now you can see this is another one of those lovely grayscale kind of things. It was taken in fairly low light and there isn't a lot of contrast available on here. We're going to go to Image again and open up an adjustment, the curves. I'll pull that over to the side here so we can see the image. We want to activate the show clipping, and you'll see everything has pretty much gone away. We are going to start by grabbing the slider on the left, which is the darks, and start dragging that over until we start to see some pixels popping up. There we go, right around in there, which is somewhere around 25, 26 in that area. You start to see a few pixels on the screen. Next, we're going to work with the high end. Now, anything that is past that is going to be pure black. So in this area, that output there is going to be black. So we're going to drag from the other side, which blacks everything out, and we're looking for our lights to come in. And I'm still dragging, still dragging, still dragging. Yeah, it's a little too far. Let me back that up. There we go. I've got 236 is coming in with some of the pixels that are white. Let me turn off my clipping mask now, and if I take off my preview, you can see we started actually to bring in a little bit of contrast. Next, we're going to click on the curve and we're going to add a point on our quarter tone grid line, and we're going to drag that to the right. And as you do that, you can see you're going to get a little more contrast coming in. We're going to bring in some more darks. So on that one, they adjusted theirs to an input value of 95 with an output of 65. I'm pretty close on that, so I'll leave mine stand. Then I'm going to go up to my 3/4 tone grid line up here and grab that point, and I'm going to drag that over to the left to bring that curve and brighten some of that mid-tone up. And I'm going to drag over. There you had an input of 175 with an output of 190. I'm pretty happy with my output of 190, and I could bring that over just a little bit. Oh, I lost mine. Bring that over. There we go. 190, 191, 87. The output is going to change as you drag up and down, and the input, that's pretty close. And look at the change that we've had here. If I turn off my preview, there is what the original looked like, and we have now increased the contrast considerably and gotten more detail to show. Click OK to save that file and close the dialog box and save this as Diamonds Fixed. Again, you can save as a JPEG. And this one, if I leave as the maximum, that's perfectly fine. That's a little bit around 1 megabyte file, and you can close that file.